Hello, rodeo fans. Welcome to the fourth episode of the Half Point. We're moving our way. We're into August now. We got just, I guess, under a month now, if you include the first left in the Pro Rodeo Canada season. Um, we made our way through. We're making our way, I think, through Cowboy Christmas 2.0 that we talked about, I think, a couple episodes ago now, or an episode ago. I can't remember. It's all blending together, but big week of rodeo here in Canada. We got right now we got the Pile of Bones rodeo going on in Regina. We got Strathmore, and am I forgetting something, Clay, on the schedule?
Grimshaw.
Grimshaw. So the northern runs starting to start. We got two big tour rodeos happening this weekend, but we have basically a month's worth of results and stories to recap with you guys after the last week of rodeo. But I think that's a good segue into the big kind of the theme of the week has been saddle bronc riding. We had two massive saddle bronc riding events with the hard grass bronc match and the Zeke Featherston Invitational going down, and what a couple nights of saddle bronc riding action. I think it really kind of hammered home the point of Canada being the home of saddle bronc riding in the world.
There's no doubt. Again, some incredible events put on by Pollockville and Stettler. Again, Pollockville an established event, Stettler a brand new one with just so much excitement and a lot of fireworks.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
the 3D team there brings the PBR atmosphere to a bronc ride, and it was all kinds of excitement in both places. And again, we see similar final champion in both places. So
Yeah,
pretty big weekend there.
yeah, it's pretty cool. It's nice to see the bull riding template put onto saddle bronc riding, and we see it in Pollockville too with the Alpha Bull crew kind of manning the production side, and it just it's such a it fits the bull riding model, and we see that obviously with how well these bronc matches do, and it's just another cool way to showcase like kind of our marquee event up here in Canada, and like you say, a familiar face at the top of both events. The I think everybody knows by now, but Zeke Thurston kind of swept the board on the saddle bronc riding event side. He won the hard grass bronc match. Highlighted, he rode what did he ride in the show? He rode Blasting Sound, the Calgary Stampede in the short round, and then obviously that big ride about on Virgil. But just talk about the domination that we saw from Zeke over the past couple days.
Again, he didn't dominate in the long round to get there, but once he was there in Pollockville, definitely, yeah. And I saw something saying again, because he was coming in that far down, had to try and pick again. Both of these events, your short round, you had to pick your horse. So he tried to look at the list and say, what's here that's got something again. Blasting Sand's been a bareback horse the last few years and a great one,
Hmm.
but you don't know how that's going to translate in the bronc ride. And there was definitely aspects of it. I'm not too sure if that horse necessarily likes the bronc riding, but there's still a lot of that action, a lot of that bucking,
Hmm.
and again Zeke really bared down to get through
Hmm.
that because it wasn't easy.
No,
That
made it
and
work for
again,
him.
like and I mean the final results there. I mean, you were half point between everybody. It was just both events, the short rounds, and then yeah, again, I was pretty fortunate again to see Zeke draw Little Muffin there with the last article, and I
You
mean,
called
great
it. You
ride. So
called it.
just worked. I mean, yeah, she had a great trip. He made a phenomenal ride there to win the long round there in Stettler, and then again, when Virgil's in the draw as a bronc rider, you don't know if you're Zeke Thurston, you don't know if you're going to get that chance again.
Mhm.
For one, he's getting old enough, and for the other, I mean, this might be his last trip in the bronc riding, anyways. So
Mhm.
you got to go with them, and again, you could just feel the suspense building in the event. It was a phenomenal short round. Guys were making some good rides. A couple of hard to deal with horses there. Got a
Mhm.
few guys no scores, but in the end, you had to feel like the hometown host was just going to step up, and he sure did. It was just such a cool event
Yeah,
and and results.
you couldn't have scripted that any better with like yeah, Zeke winning the long round, getting to pick Virgil in the short round, and then the fireworks happened when those two got together, and I'm sure everybody listening to this has seen the videos and stuff by now. It was not old Verge didn't make it easy on Zeke. You could see that power and that strength that he's known for, but Zeke, he showed his world champion form and made an awesome ride there. And one other guy we can't, I guess, glaze over is Leighton Green. He had a really good week as well. He won the long round in Polk with a 90-point ride on Flying Karma, the
Flying
Calgary
Karma,
side.
yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah.
was a great ride, and he hit a really big week last week. So just looking at final numbers before you get into Leighton, Clay, Zeke pulled in about $18,500 from the two events, and Leighton kind of contributing from, like, he had a win in High Prairie, pulled some money out of Medicine Hat, one Medicine Hat too, I guess, and he pulled home about $12,000. So another big weekend for Leighton. But talk about what you saw from Leighton last week.
Yeah, I got to talk to him at Stetler about that ride on Flying Karma, and again, he like he said, if you got on horses like that every time, you'd never quit riding broncs. It's the other 80% of the time that you're not getting on those, or 90% of the time. I
Yeah.
mean, that was just a sensational ride from Leighton there, and again, he was 90 and a half to win High Prairie. He was big score to win Medicine Hat. So I mean,
He was
if it
close to
wasn't
90
for,
again in Med Hat, wasn't he? Let me look here.
I
I'll
think
pull it
he was
up. Keep
88.
going.
Yeah, like
You
it
keep going.
was.
I'll pull it up. Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, he just again, it was any other weekend of the season. I mean, you pull 12 grand out. That's pretty
Jeez.
sensational. But he's again, that just goes to show how much money was in those bronc ridings for Zeke to take home. And but yeah, Leighton, he's riding good, feeling good, and got to be happy with how that all played out for him. And yeah, just good to see. Again, when I got thinking about it here, I think between him and Jake Watson, those are the only two that were starting riding broncs when I was finishing. So it made me feel old, but yeah, they're still competing hard with those guys, and showing them that they're not to be trifled with.
Well, and there's some big time implications from the money won this past week, and on the saddle bronc riding side, and any other events, we'll get to that. But Leighton Green, after Morris and Kennedy was sitting 10th in the country with 17,001. So that $12,000 is going to move him up probably close to that top five now, or in the top five. So that's really going to help move it along for him, and keep him in the mix. And then Zeke, I don't know. I think he's giving himself a pretty good head start as we head into Edmonton, come October, but he's going to be pushing $50,000 one on the year, and it's just going to, or he's going to be over $50,000 in the year one now. So, pretty cool to see that kind of money, in the standings as we get into the second half of the season here.
I think the best way to describe Zeke is all the other bronc riders are looking in their side mirror, and it says at the bottom, Zeke Thurston is closer than he appears. Like it's just,
Oh man.
he's just, again, you see him start to just pick that momentum up and start
Hmm.
cashing those checks. And I mean, down south, they've still got the big Extreme Bronx Finals that pays a
Hmm.
ton of money, and all those tour rodeos, and again, the tour finals up here. Like it's, yeah, he just, he rises to the occasion. He just knows how to win as well as anybody ever has.
It wouldn't be surprising to see him like go past $60,000 mark before we get into the CFR. It'd be pretty cool to see that, and then obviously how much that money means in the world standings, because it's a kind of a logjam at the top, in the top five in the world, and as much ground he can make before the NFR, it's going to set him up to win that fifth world championship. But anyways, enough saddle mark grinding. I'm sure people are sick of hearing about that. Let's get into some barrel racing, Clay. What's been going on the trail this past week and a bit?
Yeah, so we had a few good big wins, and again, the dollar amount when you don't have those bronc ridings adding in doesn't quite pop out as much. But again, we had Kirby Pantella there. She's a veterinarian out of Calgary. I mean, won first at High Prairie up north, and cash second at Bruce. I mean, getting almost $3,400 for her. That's a pretty good check. I mean, for veterinarians, maybe it's good, maybe it's just a drop in the bucket, but she's doing a great job out there on the road,
Well, it's gonna
and
put her
got
in the
a
mix
good,
for a top 12 spot now.
yeah.
She again, like after Kennedy and Morris, she's sitting, I just saw 21st, and that kind of is gonna move her close, kind of knocking on the top 12. So these checks may seem small because in comparison to the saddle bronc riding, but they have a huge implications on the standings.
Well, I wouldn't turn down $3,400 to do that for sure. But yeah, it's in, and I saw somebody posting it that they were crying whole in a dog fight in the barrel racing. Right? It's just
Mhm,
they're all coming riding. I mean, you got so many of them that ride so well and
mhm,
just competing hard. I mean, another one that had a pretty good stretch there was Vanessa Leggett. She split first at Rockyford, second at Medicine Hat.
mhm.
Former high school finals, national high school finals champ, and that totaled up for $4,500. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was a huge role for her. I think kind of the high money winner of any non bronc riding event for the weekend.
Yeah, and same goes for her. She was 18th in the standings. It's that's gonna make some moves for her once the standings get updated here. But that's the thing about the barrel racing. There's so many entries. You look at this, like there's usually a minimum 150 of them entered at any rodeo. So it's really competitive. So you really got to be putting in some fast times and being consistent to be really pulling checks. So it's going to be important for these gals as we get into the last moments of the season to put some runs together and get some money on if they want to be in Edmonton come the first week of October. I think the theme of this whole thing is kind of going to be bubble watch and maybe looking at some year end races. I feel like these gonna be tough to catch at this point when it comes to year end stuff. But steer wrestling is another event that we have had some guys make some moves, trying to get into that top 12, trying to keep their spot in the top 12. Lane Delmont being one of those guys. He had a big win at Sundry earlier this year, but he comes back, wins Medicine Hat, pulls a check out of Bruce, and he's getting himself trying to climb the ladder and get into that top 12.
Yeah, Lane's been at it a long time. I mean, he trains a lot of horses these days and just spends a lot of time doing that end of things, but still bulldog and sharp. And yeah, you win that tour rodeo in Medicine Hat and pick up a little money at Bruce. That's gonna go a long ways.
Yeah, for sure. And another guy who had a good weekend is Landon Beardsworth, picked up $3,700 between winning Rockyford and Bruce. He's kind of comfortably in the top 10 in Canada. So I feel like a check like those couple checks are really going to help kind of solidify his spot because it's going to take probably close to 20,000 in each event to make the finals this year.
Well, and like you say, there's that fight to get in there, but once you kind of get comfortable with it, you just want to be bulldogging or competing in your event
Hmm.
at the best you can, so that it's not just the oh great I made it now what
Hmm.
kind of
Hmm.
scenario. You want to be sharp, you want to have that horse work, and you want to be feeling like you're getting those started and going and I thought with that interview with Logan the other day, the best part about uh the CFR being this early this year is these guys are going to be so much sharper. Those cattle
Hmm.
and those animals aren't going to be in winter mode already and getting pulled back into a building. They're going to be ready to roll. So yeah, it's just that much more important right now to be firing on all
Hmm.
cylinders.
Yeah, you can't be comfortable. It's so tight in the top 12 and like on these bubble races that just because you're in the top 12 now doesn't mean you'll be there after Armstrong. So you really got to keep the pedal to the metal and pushing the limits there because you could be on the outside looking in faster than you think. Another event that we had some cool moments, the bareback riding. So Straubs Jones you have written down here, but he actually broke the arena record in Bruce with an 88-point ride. So talk a bit more like about Straubs and some of the other bareback riders who had some success this weekend, Clay.
Yeah, again, Straubs has been having a good season. We've seen some big moments for him, and again, a double win is always a good feeling
Double win,
and great to
baby.
see him. So again, yeah, winning Medicine Hat and and everything, and again being 88 in Bruce. I mean, that's such a cool
Hmm.
rodeo. I actually I'd reached out to their committee head there the other day about something, and again they put that all together themselves. They're not scared to go out there and do whatever it takes to raise enough money to put on that rodeo and yeah, it's just a great spot and I mean winning that these days is it's tough to do with those the draw that they have
Oh
there. I
man.
mean Northcott Ewell brings some great ones. You get Sunstroms. That rodeo's really stepped itself up in the stock
Hmm.
end of things. And again, another $3,500 weekend for Straubs is positioning him well to go into Edmonton.
Hmm. Hmm. One another guy too that that had a pretty good weekend is Cody Lamb. He won Rocky Ford, placed at Bruce, and placed Met Hat. Something you brought up before we started recording here. He's sitting 20th in the country, and he was the season leader last year. So it's kind of unfamiliar territory for Cody, but I feel like he's getting healthy and starting to find his stride again.
Yeah, we saw unfortunately he had to pull out of the CFR early for an injury, and I think that always takes a while to get sorted out for the rest of the year. And so started behind the eight ball, but again, you're seeing some results consistently. Cody's a veteran at this stage in his career. He knows how to rodeo and what to
Mhm.
do, and I got a pretty good feeling he's going to work his way back in there and come in hungry again. Having to push that hard, you just know you got to work for it. And yeah, it's like when they talk about playoff races, when a team's cruising in because they've been so far ahead, sometimes they meet that underdog that's had to scrap and fight, and they've been in playoff mode for months.
Mhm.
So you see that, and yeah, I can imagine he'll be ready.
Yeah, he'll be ready to go, and I feel like some having some urgency to get to the CFR might help a guy like him just being like, okay, I really got to bear down and get to work. So, like we say, it's gonna be no smooth sailing for anybody when it comes to trying to get to the CFR here over the next, I guess, 2 or 3.5 weeks. Now it's crazy to think that that's where we're at. But moving on, we got the tie down roping. Shane Smith had a big weekend, winning $3,400. Bo Pickett won $3,200, and Murray Poole picking up some good checks out of High Prairie and Bruce. So what do you see in the tie down roping, and kind of what can we expect as we move forward here, Clay?
Again, you're seeing a tight race. You're seeing it's hard to find lots of guys that are winning across the board,
Hmm.
but you're seeing money getting spread around, and I mean it's going to come down to the wire on who does what. I mean,
Yeah,
Murray Poole, that's the second win here in as many weekends,
right,
and
right.
again, you just great to see him coming along. Shane Smith, I mean, him and all of his brothers. I mean, they're as tough to rope against as anybody can be,
Mhm.
and yeah, that Bo Pickett coming up here winning that tour rodeo. I mean, it's tough out there.
It's tough, yeah, and it's going to be cool because I think Logan and I talked about it in the interview last week. You could see 4 or 5 guys hit $30,000 in earnings here before the end of the season, and that big weekend from Shane really helps move that along. We got 2 guys there already. Kyle Lucas is 5,000 away from it, and Shane Smith's about 10,000 before the standings update, away from being at 30. But it's gonna be cool to see that, and like you say, a big weekend for Murray Poole. He was sitting 19th after his win in Morris. So that money's gonna keep kind of creep him up there and get him in the mix. So it's gonna be fun, man. I'm really excited to watch these races unfold and as we move through these and see what happens. So um what do we got the team roping, Clay? You're kind of become our
Yeah.
in-house expert on that.
So again, it was kind of some money spread around there. I had quite a few names because I mean there was tough to figure out who really dominated. Again, there
Mhm.
was at least four teams that won over $2,000. There wasn't anybody that really pulled ahead of everybody, but again, we saw Tufton McLeod and Brady Chapel there. They pulled three checks to make 2,700 to kind of be the top money winners of the weekend. Got second in Medicine Hat and placed at Bruce and High Prairie. So no wins, but again, just consistent roping is what a guy wants to be doing at this time of
Mhm.
year. And the Schmidt brothers, Tate and Kagan, they pulled three checks as well. They won High Prairie and then again placed at Bruce and Rockyford and Derek Hadland and Jackson Braithwaite. I know the Braithwaite name sometimes gets more associated with the bull riding, but Jackson's sure been roping tough and they
Mhm.
won Rockyford and everything. So those names, I mean, again, Tate and Kagan, you hear them with they've really had some moments over the past few years, but some of those other names that you hear about and they're just picking away and yeah, just fighting that fight because again, it is a race in that team roping as well. Some of the guys maybe we're going down south right now. I know Dylan and Dawson came back up. I saw they're leading
Mhm.
Regina right now, but they've been on a tear down south as well. So it's there's a lot of miles, a lot of horses getting some diesel smoke.
There's been a lot of partner flipping around over the last few weeks, I've noticed. Is there anything behind that, Claire? Is it just the way schedule's working out for guys, or what the heck's going on?
Yeah, I haven't had ears on the ground to know what's going on, who made who mad, or who missed who missed the trip to wherever. I mean, I've been a fill-in partner at a rodeo or two over the years, so you never know. Some of it might just be that. Again, a
Hmm.
partner might, maybe he's got a wedding to get to or something.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, I've noticed a little bit of partner switching, and yeah, it's usually those guys will save that for end of year if it's something more long term, but you never know. That's the
Hmm.
thing with an event where both of you are on the hook for it. I mean, I'm terribly unreliable partner for anybody. That's why I don't get to many places. Is I'm good on a draw pot jackpot, because if I don't make it, well,
There's other
they're
people
still
there.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, no, all good. It'll be interesting to see how that shakes out, I guess, as we move along here. In the ladies breakaway open, we had a couple another again, couple bubble gals had some big weekends. Cashley Sites and Aubrey Ross picking up uh right in around $3,000 each. Some big wins on their end. But again, those gals were on the outside looking in. Well, Cashley was holding on to the 12th spot after Kennedy and Morris, but she that's really going to help move it along. $2,600 in her pockets, and then Aubrey Ross, she was kind of on the outside looking in, but $2,900 is going to go a long way in getting back in that top 12 for the 2023 season leader.
There's no doubt. And again, Aubrey, I mean, she's been roping her whole life.
Hmm.
I mean, I can actually remember one time going to Lacrete Rodeo, waiting on the ferry, and Rocky and the family were ahead of us. And I mean, all those kids, what are they doing while they're waiting? They pull a dummy out of the trailer and they're roping. And I mean, just, Rocky's there helping. They've got the
Hmm.
stock, they've got the horses. I mean, Denham, he's on fire right now
Hmm.
too, and they work together, and just, yeah, I mean, she's still in high school. She's a top notch competitor,
Hmm.
and again, a tour rodeo win and a split at High Prairie there. Again, that's close to $3,000. That, like you say, she being on the outside,
Hmm.
that's gold right there.
Oh man. And then with all the tour rodeos left to come, there's a lot of money available out there, and that's gonna take us to the bull riding, my favorite event. I think everybody's favorite event. Maybe I'll I'll leave that up for a discussion. But Jared Parsonage, kind of the highlight of the weekend, 90 points, win medicine hat on the Down with the Devil of Kessler's. Is a big time ride from Jared, away from his hand, not easy. But I think that is that our first 90-point ride in the bull riding this year? It's got to be. I was trying to look back, but I couldn't confirm that. Someone can check me on that. But cool to see all the 90-point rides and big time scores coming through. And Jared's gonna further the distance when it comes to the number one spot in Canada after a big win, Med Hat.
Yeah, just a great ride. That Down with the Devil, he's got to be a brother to Devil's Advocate, because they
Yeah,
look
yeah.
so similar, right? And I mean, they're both not easy bulls to ride. So
No, no.
again, getting that covered. I mean, Jared, he's just, the term "cowboy's cowboy" gets thrown out there, but he's the
He
mold.
is. Yeah,
He's
he
just
is.
such a hand.
Yeah, and he it's funny for a big tall guy, he makes it look so easy, and I think it's mentioned a lot to his detriment sometimes, but it wasn't in Mad Hat. He had to work his butt off for that 90 points. And another fellow who had a good couple days, couple or weekend, I guess you could say, is Bo Gardner. He's kind of one of our hot shot rookies we got going on in Canada right now. And sorry, I just got a text that threw me off. And he picked up a couple big checks over the weekend and is going to kind of solidify his spot in the top five, top four, wherever he's top 10, I guess, right now. But anyways,
I
oh,
wanted to add one more thing in. I know last week we didn't talk about the novice, because there
mm,
wasn't a lot on,
hmm.
but our steer riding winner at Kennedy was also the steer riding winner at Bruce, Cecil Baton.
Perfect.
And Bruce, actually, for a rodeo that again isn't a big tour rodeo or anything like that, added a fair bit of money in the steer riding. And this kid is coming from, I mean, he's coming from the three-quarter pole around here to catch up to the crew, and those last two wins here really stepped things up for him. And so kudos to Bruce for giving a kid like that a shot to make
Hmm.
it. And yeah, it's just, I mean, it's that steer
Yeah,
ride, and
dang.
usually you're fighting for four $300-400 checks, and so Bruce there for him to pull up 900 and some bucks, it went a long ways.
All right, Clay, I think it's going to do it for our rodeo wrap-up section of the Half Point this week. I think it's going to move us into the next part where we welcome a very special guest, the fearless leader, the general manager of Canadian Professional Rodeo, to give his, I guess we can call it the halfway point of the season, State of the Nation. But welcome to the Half Point, Denny Phipps. What's going on, dude?
Not a whole bunch, and I we might be. I think we're past the half
We're
point.
back. Yeah.
It's getting a little nerve wracking how close we're getting to the end of the season.
Well, that's kind of one of the main things we want to talk to you about was is the kind of the new end date to the season. So we were really at after Armstrong, and that's all she wrote to get to the CFR.
Well, you got Armstrong, Merritt, and Langley all wrapping up that weekend. So for the rough stock contestants in the barrel racing, Langley's their last shot. Everyone else Merritt, but there's going to be a lot of movement available between the tour finale and Armstrong's rodeo itself, Langley, Merritt. That puts a lot of things in play going into the last weekend. We're used to having some smaller rodeos or even an Edmonton by itself last year. This year we've got four pretty significant events going on.
Mhm.
So nobody's really out of it until the very end. So it's going to make some really exciting races, and it's going to get some cowboys and cowgirls really putting themselves in opportunities to make a move and come from behind that last weekend. And it's also going to keep people looking over their shoulders right to the very end.
Oh, it's gonna be a wild run to the end here, and I think Clay and I were talking about it earlier in the show here. It's gonna take nearly $20,000 to get in the most events just to get to the CFR in the 12th spot.
It is. I got updated standings just an hour ago, maybe not even an hour ago. So I haven't even really delved into them, including Pollockville and Bruce and Medicine Hat and all that. And like it's looking like I don't think you're far off. 20,000. My prediction in the bronc riding, it's going to take 24,000 to be in last hole. It's really, really impressive, and there's a lot of money available, and all of that is with those 4 rodeos in September moving to the 2025 season. I'd like to note that they are still counting for the 2024 Maple Leaf Circuit
Hmm.
standing, so contestants can still use those to get their circuit count and count towards making Regina and Agribition in November. But to make the Canadian finals, those rodeos count for the 2025 season. So not only will we have a big weekend ending the 2024 season, but those rodeos will be allow contestants to get a kickstart for the 2025 season. And everybody knows $800 at the end of the season can be real valuable. Why not get that at the start of the season?
Yeah.
And I think you see that it's been like that more in the States for so long, right? I mean, their season
Yep.
ends September 30th, but there's always so many rodeos up there or down there in October, November, and things like that before Denver. So yeah, to see some money in the standings there, and not just rely on that Maple Leaf circuit to jumpstart your 2025 season. I think it's going to really help some Cowboys that again are feeling healthy and happy and wanting to keep rodeoing.
Well, exactly. And it's a reason for them to go to those rodeos and get that kickstart, and especially for those that were riding the bubble or maybe looking to kick off a rookie season or really fire off. Um, you can start that rookie year. You don't have to wait to March or April to get going on your rookie year. We're able to get you upgraded, and you can go to Coronation, Medicine Lodge, Olds, and Hannah and kickstart your rookie year right while you're really in the groove of things.
Hmm. Well, and I think something we talked about with Logan Bird last week was how I feel like this run of being able to roll from the end of the season right into the CFR is really going to amp up the competition at the CFR. Not having that 6-week, 2-month break is really going to kind of change the dynamic of what we see in Edmonton too.
I think it's going to be a really unique situation because we've always had October, for the most part, off before the CFR.
Hmm.
This year, it's going to be 2 weeks. So everybody's going to be, it's a rest versus rest argument.
Hmm.
Um, just like when you're playing hockey or baseball or basketball in the playoffs, is if you finish the series quickly, well, you get that time to rest your bumps and bruises, but also you might be a little rusty. So we're going to see who's going to be able to roll in there and knock off that rust on Perf 1. And I really, really expect that perf one in Edmonton to be, I think people's motors are going to be running high, and I think we're going to see some pretty outstanding things that first night. And I'm really looking forward to the energy in that building, especially with those contestants the first night, and see who comes with the first night jitters and who doesn't.
Well, I think it's going to be cool to see. I think you're going to see a better. The stock's going to perform better, in my opinion, just with the not as long of a break. They don't have their winter hair coming quite as early. Like they're going to be fresh off. It's kind of the same deal for the competitors. They're going to a little bit of rest, but they're going to be used to being on the road and bucking and competing. So I think you're going to see not only the competitors but the stock be in top form as we get into Edmonton.
Well, and I think that, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but I think if that is the case, I think we're looking for some pretty outstanding things. But because I don't think you can, I don't think you can top the stock that we've had at the CFR these last
Oh,
number of years.
100%. Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
if they're even taking another step forward, what's that going to mean for the level of competition and the task these guys and gals have in front of them?
Oh, it's gonna be awesome. And I guess jumping back to something that's gonna be more relevant right now is instant replays back. So it's gonna be in
Yeah.
Strathmore if I'm
Yep.
correct, and then back at the CFR once again. So talk a bit about integrating that back into some of the rodeos before we get to Edmonton here.
Well, I think it's just we're the CPRA. We're trying to be proactive. It was when as Tanner Gerlitz had applied for the rodeo administrator job, it was one of the first things we talked about, and I'd been kind of putting the bug into people's ears before that, and I think Tanner had as well. So it was really nice. We were very much on the same page when that came when he came on board, and we've really been able to work it and work with Lane Peterson, who he deals with video review in the WCRA as well. So he's been a real valuable resource, but just trying to refine that process. One of our big things is we want to give the judges the tools to things happen fast, and we want to give them the tools to kind of those decisive calls, the ability to go back and look at it. I know that in Pollockville, the judge himself actually went to video review to confirm a reride. A gentleman wasn't given a reride. I can't remember who it was originally, but they looked and yeah, it did slip far enough down. So the judge initiated that one. But it's just kind of some of those things that the contestants have an opportunity, the judges as well, to get those calls right. We've all seen a missed mark out or a barrier failure or a crossfire that have been questionable, and we want to give those where it fits. We want to give the opportunity to the contestants that it's not going to fit everywhere. You need to have certain camera angles. You need to have a certain number of cameramen to do it. So it's not something that can be implemented everywhere because it's probably a depending on the rodeo arena size and setup, it's maybe even a 5 camera system to make sure that you're doing it properly. I think we had 7 cameras in Pollockville.
Wow.
So it's not just we can have 1 camera on the shoots and make sure we catch everything, because if we're going to have video review available, we have to have it be fairly reliable. And in Pollockville and Strathmore and the CFR, we actually have Wrangler Pro Rodeo officials sitting right in the trailer with the production company, and they sit there and they've got 7 or 8 screens in front of them, and they're watching every ride and run in real time, so that if there is a challenge, they've already watched it on 7 angles and they can play back. And if they have to look at something tighter, it can happen so quick. They don't have to communicate because they're sitting right beside the production lead.
Well, that'll make it interesting to see how that works out, because we saw it at the CFR last year. Worked out well for
Yep.
Jordan Hansen, not so well for Colby Wanchuk, but it'll be cool to
Yep.
kind of see the refined system go to work in Edmonton.
Yeah, so we're working on it, refining it. And obviously, we haven't been in that building. We had one advantage in Red Deer. We knew what the camera angles were. We knew where there might be gaps, and we were able to fill those. So until we get in there, until we have dirt in there, shoots in there, the timed event shoots, figuring out where those camera placements need to be, and trying to make sure that we don't have any gaps in camera angles. That's the real big thing. And there are obviously things like you can't ask for a review on your score, your time, or anything like that. The judges, the judges make their opinion, and I'm 100% confident in their ability to do that. But something like a crossfire or a mark out, a horse slipping, an 8-second clock like that, those are the ones that I'm really excited to be bringing in, for us to be bringing into the sport and be leaders in this. Because I really think that those are opportunities to get the call right. And especially in some of those opportunities where a mark out or the 8-second whistle, the crowd might think that, oh, this guy made the 8-second whistle, or this team, they roped 2 feet. Why is this getting disqualified? So having that opportunity to make sure it is done right, and especially in the team roping, everything is happening so quick
Oh
nowadays.
yeah, it's
You've got to
wild.
be you got to be 3/8, so it's happening pretty darn rapid. So you want to make sure that in those big leverage situations where possible, that you are providing the opportunity to support those judges, because obviously we want to make sure that we are being giving support and providing them the tools and providing the contestants the tools as well.
You briefly touched on it on hard grass in Pollockville there. I wanted to get your take kind of on the past week of the bronc riding events, and you were able to be at both. But I just wanted to, from through your lens, Clay and I went in pretty depth, but through your lens, what was it like watching those two great events go down?
Well, it's fun, and my family, we went to both of them and we camped at both of them. I think my son went half feral, and we
That'll
it,
happen in
it was so
Pollockville.
it was so enjoyable. He just hanging out with the rodeo kids, but it's really a credit to these events that they're getting the absolute top guys in the world. Canada boasts probably 10 of the top 25 bronc riders in the world, in my opinion. And but Pollockville was top to bottom. Stettler was top to bottom, the best in the world. And the action really showed. I think Stettler, brand new event. They both are incredibly well supported by the crowd. I don't know that you could fit another person in Pollockville. And Stettler, this was the first year of it, and it was incredibly well attended. They had great fans, and Pollock or Stettler took, I think, 87 points to get back into the top 8. So it's like you've got the best talent in the world doing those things, and to see Zeke Thurston do what Zeke Thurston does, and I think between the two bronc matches, he won close to $20,000. And when the standings hit after Stettler, I think he's going to be crossed the $50,000 mark already on the season. And I don't know if giving that guy a head start is what needs to happen.
Oh man, that's big time trouble there, and just to see it kind of like culminate or capped off with Zeke and Virgil going head to head in the short round. Like you couldn't have scripted a better moment.
Well, and I'll when I seen the draw come out, I seen that he had that horse of Outlaw Buckers, and I'm a big fan of that horse. I've been trying to get Jonathan Comita to move it to the bareback riding before I retired, so unsuccessfully, but I've been trying. And as soon as I seen that, I'm like, oh, I've got a feeling that Zeke's going to get an opportunity to pick Virgil here, and there's going to be something really exciting happen. And the luck of the draw, and it was like Zeke put a lot of. It wasn't just Zeke's name on that. He put a lot of heart and soul into helping organize that event. And he's a great ambassador for our sport, and he's trying to do things to build and grow, and obviously bronc riding his sport, but I know that his family's involved with they do a tie down roping event as well. Zeke is about the growth of rodeo as a sport, and obviously he loves bronc riding. He possibly the best that's ever done it.
It's impressive,
and
man.
the stats back it up. But he's also just one of the best individuals and humans and ambassadors for the sport we could ask for.
Yeah,
And I think that a lot of that comes from the fact that, I mean, his dad Skeeter wasn't just a great bronc rider either. He put a lot of his heart and soul into helping so many young guys, myself included, figure out the craft and learn how to rodeo and what to do. So you see that's passed on, and it's just great to see.
It is. I was a little disappointed that the Thurston gang didn't crack out at the in the opening of Stettler, but
that's a 2025 thing.
I really thought we could have seen some trick roping and maybe some trick riding, but maybe next year.
Oh man.
But just touching on that and talking about Skeeter and talking about the bronc riders in Canada, like you've got the Roddy Hayes, you've got the Mal Highlands, you've got the Winston Bruces before he passed, you've got the Clay Elliots, and I'm missing hundreds. But we've got these great legendary bronc riders that didn't just tip their hat. They are embedded in the sport of rodeo, and they are grooming this next generation, and especially in Alberta, obviously across Western Canada, but especially in Alberta, you can't go 13 feet without bumping into a legendary bronc rider.
Oh man.
And just that concentration of those people willing to share and help people grow, it's really showing in spades. We've got NFR qualifiers that are on the outside looking in the bronc riding right now, and it's just incredible. And it's as this sport grows, this next generation of bronc riders, the next generation of contestants across the board in Canada is pretty dang still, and it's fun. Just look at the success that the Canadians had at the high school finals. There's a lot of amazing youth coming down the pipe, and the bronc riding just is really leading that charge with a bullet. And it's cool to be a cowboy again.
Yeah, it's especially in Canada and the saddle bronc riding, you know, like we're so fortunate between the next gen or the past generation paying it forward, the current generation doing what they're doing, the bucking horses, everything kind of coming together.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see. Before we wrap things up here, Denny, I gave you a little bit of homework. I wanted to get your CFR hot take before we head into Edmonton, and we'll check back in with you after to see if it comes true. But I wanted to get that.
Well, I'm going to share this little segment with my son Ryder. So Ryder, sit forward here. So my hot take for the CFR. So I've just obviously I talked about, I think round one is going to really cap off. I'm really excited to see, especially the bareback riding. It's pretty war of attrition. So having one last round, I think we're going to be having a lot of people healthy. But I really think with the money added in Edmonton, and paying over 11,000 around 16 the average, my hot take is we're going to have someone come from 10th, 11th, 12th in one of the events and become a Canadian champion.
Oh, good one. Okay, Ryder, what do you got, buddy?
Well, like we have so many great talents in sport. It's hard to predict who's gonna win, and but I think there's gonna be like some big stories, like high point rides and some underdogs coming up, and it's going to be a great opportunity for a bunch of these people that are getting to ride in the CFR this year.
Who's your young excited to watch and thinks going to do good?
Well, I'm pretty excited to watch Blake Link. He might make it or might not, but he's a great young bareback rider and has been rodeoing really well in the past year. And yeah.
That's perfect. Hey, Ryder, I gotta watch out for you, man. You're coming for my job, dude. That was perfect analysis. Some analysis right there. It's perfect.
Right? He was doing his homework before we got in the truck.
You got her dialed in. You got her dialed in. So
I'm really excited. I really last year we had the team roping really was a fireball of an event, and the bronc riding, obviously. I really think we're going to see. I really think, and actually, you want to know what the event that I think I'm really excited to see? We've got breakaway roping in all 5 performances.
Yeah.
Right now, we've got like Shea Beaver, Jenna Dallin, Aubrey Ross, all are on the outside looking in. So if that's not a testament to how strong the breakaway roping is, and I expect that to be a real fireball event in the CFR this year.
Oh, it's gonna be a great finish to the season. Gonna be a great lead into the CFR, and we'll check in with you once more, Denny, before we get into the CFR in September. But we appreciate you taking the time today.
Awesome, thanks, gents. I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Well, this has been episode number 4 of The Half Point. I'm Wacey Anderson from my partner Clay Creasy. We'll check in with you all next week on the short round. Take care.